saying out loud. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to today's episode. Turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit terrified. I see that fucking turn around. Every now and then I get a little bit terrified. I see that fucking look in your eyes. Turn around right now. Every now and then I wanna fuck. Turn around right now. 'Cause every now and then I wanna fuck. And I need you now tonight. I fucking need you more than ever. Ladies and gentlemen, did we kind of forget the lines for a split second? That should go to show you we don't plan shit. Unrehearsed podcast get you in trouble 2022. Spotify, I'm looking for sponsors. Just kidding, ladies and gentlemen. Just kidding. I mean, I really am. But not at the cost of a fellow podcaster. Was I on Spotify before Joe Rogan? Yeah, I was. But listen, we're splitting hairs at that point, okay? But here's the big thing. What the fuck is going on in the world? What the fuck is up, Brad? Okay? Who the fuck is Brad? Doesn't make sense, ladies and gentlemen. But listen. What the fuck is going on in the world? Okay? Weird shit happening, all right? Confusing times we're living in. If you've been living under a rock, then you don't know that Joe Rogan, one of the crusaders of free speech, is currently being targeted by black helicopters. That was my Alex Jones impression. Okay. It probably wasn't the best choice of words to say that, but here's the thing. Here is all the controversy that's been going on. Mr. Joe Rogan, esteemed podcaster, considered the biggest media outlet on the planet, the biggest threat to mainstream media and the stranglehold that they have over current information. The truth is, news, media, and reporting should be all about the facts. There should be no agenda. There should be no profiting in the sense of by keeping a narrative, it shouldn't be more profitable if it goes against the facts and it goes against all, options. And something that I've thought was really cool, and the reason why I think it happened organically, is the way that the Joe Rogan podcasts are. I'm a huge fan, big fan, believe in what these conversations are and the value that I have got out of them. People who are on the outside, they think Joe Rogan is like this toxic. I had an event I was recently at, and I talked to this other person who was a great person, a great soul, really successful photographer. Never listened to Joe Rogan, and we were having dinner and we were just discussing different things about life. And it was a great time. And the topic of Joe Rogan came up, and she had never listened to his podcast and no idea about the way he was and what he said, but noticed that there was a lot of big conversations happening there. But she insinuated that there was like a bro, toxic, kind of non-open-minded way of handling things. And when I just kind of, me probably digesting thousands of hours of this podcast, just kind of laid it out that, it's more open-minded and blah, 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 basically describing what the Joe Rogan experience really is. And this is an important grounds and blueprint to lay out for what we're going to be talking about. Because there's a lot of stuff that if you take it at face value, looks very bad. There's important discussions that happen on Joe Rogan's podcast, okay, with alternate thinking. And Joe Rogan came out. If you don't know that Joe Rogan's been under attack and Spotify has been receiving a lot of pushback, Neil Young and other old artists been, getting their, 10 seconds of fame to try to say that he's spreading disinformation and misinformation and uninformation and just tons of other more formations. And Spotify's been catching a lot of backlash, and I think the stock has been dealing with a lot of blowback. Went down something like 24 billion, the value of the company, and it's all over a narrative that has been pushed. And I'm not a conspiracy theory. I happen to not feed into those. Let's say pre-2020, your boy wasn't in the conspiracies, because I usually believe they're based in, a lot of what ifs and I like to deal with facts. I like to deal with things we can measure. Whenever you just start saying, when you start questioning motives, it starts being up in the air, and it's a gray area and it's subjective. And that's a hard place to come up with an objective decision, because your boy's an emotional person. So to be able to combat that, I have to have objective data to try to keep myself from making decisions on emotions. And prior to 2020, there was a lot of stuff that I shut down and I wouldn't listen to when I would have friends telling me that we're into these conspiracies and just telling me certain things. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's crazy. Wow. Meanwhile, I'm in my head going, I'm a deist, just zoning out, And, but after we started seeing these things and you start being able to see a breadcrumb and trails within quarantine, within, mandates and vaccines and Pfizer, and you see all where you follow the money, and then you see all the information that's came out with the amount of funding that hospitals have gotten and everything going on, you start to see a trail and a pattern of money and control and the way that societies flourish. And if you look at, there's one thing is like people want to erase the history of countries. They want to pretend things didn't happen and try to change the past rather than learn from it. And there's that great quote that if you don't learn from history, you're doomed to repeat it. And so it's good to look at other countries and societies that have given in to this control. You look at Cuba, and you look at Middle East countries, and you look at just countries across. You look at China, these older countries where control is huge and liberty is not. And you see a pattern of things slowly being taken away. And I don't mean to make my voice sound like that, because it does sound like I'm starting to tell a spooky story, which it is a fucking scary time that we're living in. Not in like reality, because your boy likes the Oregon Trail. So like that was a hard time to live through. Okay. Crossing through like different parts of it. So like that would, no matter what, this is still easier than that, because we have air conditioning, we have Wi-Fi, we have Netflix, we have everything's easier in the sense of the pyramid of what we need: food, shelter, safety, But on the flip side, we have a lot of information, misinformation being spread. And that's something that we have to adapt to. That's our troubles, is mass psychosis, for lack of a better term. But the whole point I'm making is that since 2020, I've been more open to certain ideas and looking at them strictly based off of results, strictly based on, this is a situation I'm not an expert on when it comes to virology and just how to deal with a pandemic. But something that I do know about, I've said this 1,000 times on the podcast. People are probably so annoyed at hearing it, but I have a bachelor's in nursing. Been a lifelong athlete, was a college athlete. Literally stopped didn't want to be a nurse. There was a moment in nursing school where I flipped my mind, and it was during pharmacology class when I started learning about pharmaceutical companies and the whole structure of how Western medicine is, in the sense of money, in the sense of how much money can be made if we turn people into lifelong clients. There wasn't a big enough focus on health and nutrition and everything. And I've said this 1,000 times, but there was a moment where I'm arguing with my pharmacology teacher and being like, well, through health and nutrition and blah, blah, blah. And, these studies have shown that people, when they have this and bed sores and ulcers and nosocomial illnesses and stuff that which is basically like illnesses that you get in the hospital while you're being treated for something else. I basically was attacking the problem, not the symptoms. And my pharmacology teacher, dude, such a dick. He hits the table. He goes, hey, focus on your scope. He says, that's not your job. Don't worry about that. Focus on your work, like on your job. And then I literally, like, it just was a flip of my head. And I go, fuck this, because I'm going to end up living a lie if I go down this path. And it would have been crazy money, a lot less struggles financially than the journey that I fucking been on. But I would have hated myself, hated the job. Who knows where I would have ended up. And I just didn't believe in it because I was like, oh, this is all for profit. And that literally was over 10 years ago that I started this idea of being like, okay, the best thing you can do for yourself is to be as independent as possible off Western medicine. In the sense, and that doesn't mean I'm some chakra woo-saw believer in fucking eating weird random roots out in the wild and sniffing donkey mushrooms and talking to the universe, which I'm down to do that. If anybody reach out, I'm looking to meet the universe. I'm trying to talk to Mother Goose, Mother Earth. But if Mother Goose shows up, I'll give her a fucking ear beating too. But it put me on that road of just like, I want to just rely on healthy eating, exercise, stretching, and just living a life where I can be as optimum as possible without having to rely on medicine. And those should be a last case resort. But the business structure of medicine, those are first. They don't want to necessarily heal you. They don't want you in and out with something that's going to just, teach you how to fish. They don't want to give you a plan because they want to give you a fish for a day and charge you for that fish every single day, And all this to say, there's been so much. This has been the longest way to say this about the Joe Rogan shit. I don't know why we had to go through that rabbit hole to get here. We got lost in it, and that's what happens, okay? All this to be said is that there's been so much fuckery going on with the mainstream media and the narrative. And to be honest with you, I'm fucking sick of it. I'm fucking sick of it. You think I'm being funny right now? I mean, I'm being a little funny, but I'm fucking done. Like, I'm sick of this whole mainstream fear and mongering and just all this shit that is just like, I'm done. I'm done with this shit, and I'm done with hearing this guilt and this stupid shit that doesn't help. And it's gotten to a point where it's fucking ridiculous. They just came out with a thing that studies showing, and it's easier to say this, 2020, right? Like, hindsight is that the quarantines and the lockdowns didn't really help. They didn't make a very big difference. But you know what it did fuck up? It fucked up diabetes. It fucked up relationships. It fucked up alcoholics. It fucked up people's mental states. I had multiple friends who overdosed during it because they were locked up. They didn't know what to do. Now, is that something you can really connect? Is that because of quarantine that they ended up overdosing fentanyl? Which is insane that now they're making it harder to get monoclonal antibodies and alternative treatments to just getting a vaccine. It's easy to get these fucking painkillers and shit that actually causes death. Looking at how many people end up basically suffocating because of taking too many painkillers. It's fucked up, and it's a business. And I'm tired of people focused on a fucking drizzle when there's a hole in the bottom of the ship. It's just like, where are we putting all our energy? There's so much bullshit coming out, and it has to do with mainstream media. It really does. It has to deal with what people are focused on, what you're letting these stupid things tell you. It's gotten to the point where it's ridiculized. It's been so ridiculized, people. I'm telling you right now. Yeah. Don't forget to breathe every now and then, Evan, cause you start talking that shit, you'll end up in heaven. Cause they're gonna assassinate you. Cause all the shit you spew. All right. It's gotten ridiculous because I feel like there hasn't been a lot of change. One of the best things that I've seen this year, one of the best things probably the past 5 years, has been Mark Cuban opening up his own online pharmacy. I hope that turns into something huge. And there's been an issue because we've been doing, and so much of this just comes out, things that these doctors, and this is what it starts tying into with Joe Rogan. These doctors that had all these opinions that didn't go with the narrative at that time were all deplatformed. It was called fringe science or fringe conspiracies, that it was misinformation. So much shit has been said in 2020, even in 2021, and now 2022, even the mainstream media are saying about the effectiveness of masks, about vaccines not actually being vaccines, about monoclonal antibodies, about what was the thing that Joe Rogan took? They called it horse dewormer or whatever it was, ivermectin, which it's like used completely different, but it's this narrative that they spin because they're trying to take down someone who has a lot of power and influence. Why? Because it gets 10 times, 20 times more downloads and views than any mainstream media. And it's very dangerous for a lot of reasons because it can actually make a difference. He can't be controlled. He can't be guilted. And they're going to do anything in their power to try to take away all his credibility. And that's the truth. And they're going on a smear campaign because he has doctors, he has scientists, he has people on his podcasts that go against mainstream narrative. And it's crazy because I come back to this podcast in 3 years and we'll see how much of this ridiculous shit was actually so ridiculous. All these booster shots and everything, when it's like, yeah, hey, great, get people to get vaccinated, do whatever you want, make those choices. But it's like not being allowed to make those decisions yourself. They're trying to impose that. And there's no focus on, they're acting like there is zero alternatives. And that was the creepy part about these monoclonal antibodies. They're not getting pushed at all. They're great in treating people with COVID, but they started making them much harder to get because they saw people didn't want to get vaccinated because there was a treatment. How fucking crazy is that? How crazy is it that these politicians and people within the FDA and the CDC, they're all swapping salaries. There's people getting jobs here after doing this. You push through this for us, and then you come over and you have a cushy $400,000 a year salary. Oh, and you guys can't look into this and investigate all our information for 70 fucking years or whatever it was when everybody that was here is dead and gone. How crazy is that? But this shit with Joe Rogan, this is the truth. I don't know if this is the truth. This is my opinion. There's been a huge push to cancel him. And I'm someone who's listened to most of those episodes. If you haven't heard Joe Rogan recently, there's a compilation video, and somehow people got it when those episodes were deleted. He made, there was a compilation about him saying about going to see Planet of the Apes, and he showed up at a theater and it was literally Planet of the Apes. And he said something, there was like not, there's like black people around or something like that, only black people. Not a good look, Joe. Not a good look. Those things don't mix well together. That is a terrible thing to say. Is he perfect? No. Was that a bad thing to say? Is that what he meant? Well, from what he just came out and said, he was clarifying that that's not what he meant. And here's the other fucked up thing. I remember listening to the episodes. I actually don't think I'd ever heard that episode where he used the N-word. This is a huge thing going around, and they're trying to deplatform him for being a racist. Listening to those podcasts, knowing people who know Joe Rogan. I have good friends who know Joe Rogan. I'm in Austin doing comedy. He's one hair sniff away. Okay. In California, knew a lot of jiu-jitsu people who trained with him and knew him for years. And just the stories you hear from other comedians and getting to listen to a podcast with someone after a certain amount of time, you get to know who someone is. You can't hide your personality over 30,000 episodes or 30,000 hours. I don't know how many hours it is, but that's what it sounds like. There's a compilation of him using the N-word over and over again in conversations. I remember those episodes, and never once was it used in a derogatory term or a derogatory way. He was using it in a sense to talk about people using that word in a derogatory way, and how crazy that there's no other word like that, and just mentioning it. Like it's almost ironic that he ended up canceling himself or attempt cancellation by just using the word that he was saying it's crazy about the word. Which is, when you listen to the episode, it always had a little shock where you're just like, oh, well, that just came out. But it's nothing in the way that they're trying to utilize it. And here's the fucked up thing. It's almost like playing a strategic game. You go, okay, misinformation, all of this, the White House telling Spotify they need to start tightening up and being more responsible with misinformation and all this stuff. And they go, okay, how do we stop Joe Rogan? It's crazy that this is a real thing. Like in 2022, the fear factor guy is the crusader of free speech and basically liberty in the media and having a voice. These voices that mainstream media has been able to control forever. Well, there's something else out there that has an even 10 times bigger voice than you guys. And you're like, we have to fucking take this down because it's actually making a difference. I can guarantee you the amount of people that Joe Rogan has influenced to better their life is way more than any mainstream media has ever done. Real change, introducing you to people like Jocko Willink, David Goggins, Jordan Peterson, Rhonda Patrick, all these people that you've been introduced to. Yeonmi Parks. So many people. I could go on, hundreds, thousands of people you've been introduced to that have only impacted your life in a positive way. From eating healthy to following your dreams, becoming a better person, dealing with past traumas. There's so much shit that I've gotten out of this podcast. And that's just me speaking from personal experience, you know? And they don't care. The people who are trying to do this whole Joe Rogan's a racist, they're doing the lowest level of low-hanging fruit to try to rile people up. They go, hey, this works. Do you think they care about anything that he actually said? Do you think they know that he's, not racist? I'm sure they know he's not racist. This isn't a holy crusader being like, I need to take down Joe Rogan for the betterment of our people. He's a terrible human. No one's doing that. It's strictly going, hey, this will affect him. Let's put this together, take it all out of context and throw it out there. Did Joe Rogan come out and apologize for a video? Yeah, he did. 2 videos, I think. Did he need to? I really don't know. Because from what you read, it doesn't feel like people who actually understand what he was doing and who he is think that he needed to apologize. Did a lot of people get riled up? Did I fall into a weird rabbit hole of looking on Twitter at the people actually upset yesterday? Yeah. And you know what does? It upsets me. I'm not on Twitter anymore. My account got hacked or stolen and I took it back, but I just never even changed the password. I just went, you know what? I'm done with it. Because Twitter is a fucking cesspool. It's so gross. But it's important, these moments, because if in reality, if Joe Rogan does get taken down, I think there's going to be a revolution. And you know what? Welcome to the revolution, baby. Welcome. Okay? Shit will get wild if Joe Rogan really got deplatformed, in the sense of they somehow got social media companies to deplatform him. I think it would backfire. I think the genie's out of the bottle, if I'm being honest. If Spotify deplatformed Joe Rogan, they said, hey, no, you can have your 100 million. and your podcast back. And iTunes said, no, we won't have you. And then social media companies, just how Trump got taken off of Twitter, which is wild. There's the weirdest shit on Twitter, but they were like, no, we can have Middle Eastern leaders showing beheading videos and everything like that, and just people spewing hate. But no, that mean guy is gone. I think if something really happened like that, and where they took him off of Twitter completely and Instagram and Facebook, I don't even know if he's on Facebook. Yeah, he is. He's old. I think he would start his own platform. And I think that would be the straw that breaks the camel's back, is if they really did that. Everybody would be like, nah, fuck this. Because I feel like this is the moment where everybody goes, no, this is too far. And you're now trying to censoring one of the biggest voices and people who are making a difference. And this could be, listen, change is the biggest thing. And this is like, you need things to get shaken up. I think if you're an optimist and you look at life, and change is always uncomfortable. It's always frustrating. It makes you insecure, unsure, unstable. And that's the only way that real change happens. Look, everybody had to start working from home in 2020. You want to look at the pandemic as a cup half full, is that we started learning a lot about ourselves, our society, and it gave people some time to realize, like, hey, I don't want to just work for this company. I don't want to just keep trading my life for this false dream. How fucked up is it that you could end up working for a company and they sell you this false dream that, hey, when you retire, this is going to be amazing. When you hit your 60s, 65, you're going to get to travel. You just give us your entire life, and then you can have the twilight years. Yeah, you can get an RV and travel around the country when you're too tired to actually do it. Yeah, you could do that for us. Don't you want to commit and be part of something bigger? Oh yeah, also, if something goes bad for our company, we're going to fire you on a whim, no matter if you did do extra work for us and were always loyal and did more than what you're getting paid for. Yeah, we can fire you on a whim, and it's out of our hands. It's really been, and I hate using this word, it's been like an awakening for a lot of people who realize, no, I don't just want to keep trading my life to people who don't care about me. I want to try to build something on my own, build my own life, build my own ship that can't be touched. Shout out to Sam Tripoli. I'll never forget hanging out with him in the Oxnard Levity Live Comedy Club, and him telling me that you build your own boat. Build your own boat and no one can touch you. Okay, then you don't have to worry about anything. Insulate your boat, have good people around you, and you can build your own life without these people. And he was referring to comedy and Hollywood and building your own world. And it's something that you can apply to no matter what you do. Find a way to be a thinker and become indispensable, because here's the other thing. Technology and AI is right around the corner. I really do think that's going to be something that vastly replaces a lot of workers. And we're going to need more people who think and more people who are independent. So the best thing you can do is get a head start on that and make yourself indispensable. It's been a crazy past few years, huh? I found this note in my journal this morning that in 2020, I think it was May 5th, 2020, it was a part of, this journal entry. Sometimes I just flip through the journal right before I start writing just to look back on things that I've said and ideas and things. And it usually helps me with realizing that I've been talking a lot of shit for a certain amount of time. And I'm like, hey, you're talking about that 2 years ago. Now take action. So it's a good kick in the butt. But it also was one thing where it said, May 5th to 2020, about how me and my fiance, we got to make a decision and we got to see if we should move to Texas. That I was torn between Texas and California. that I didn't know what I wanted to do, how to do it. And it was a nice reflection to look back on and be like, fuck, we actually did that. Did my own version of the Oregon Trail. That's the way I look at it. Crossing through Arizona and New Mexico with a truck. Everything strapped down on top. Literally looked like a wagon. I had a bed frame tied to the top of the truck. I had a camper shell on the back. And I had these blue plastic bags that weren't waterproof tied on top of the rack. And I probably had like 10 or 12 of these big blue bags that were like 25-pound bags. And then strapped down. And I drove to Texas like that. I just risked it. I was so tired when we passed through El Paso. And we stayed in the shittiest little hotel. Because that's what you do. You just look for hotels that are cheap as fuck. Because you're only sleeping there. I was getting there at like 11 at night. And I was leaving again at like 5:36 in the morning. So I was like, I'm literally only sleeping in this room. And I would look at prices and I'd be like, I don't want to pay $150 just to sleep here. $200. So I'd look for a place and be like, oh, this place is $60. Guess what? That's all fine and dandy when you're planning a trip. But when you actually get to that hotel at 11 at night and you see the shady characters that are just hanging outside that hotel, you're like, maybe I should have done the $180. Because then you're like, I might be fighting for my fucking life outside this hotel right now. Motel, I should say. I remember getting up in the middle of the night and I'd keep looking out the window because we parked in the back and I tried parking, like hiding the truck underneath a tree because we just had our shit still tied on top. Because it was going to take me like hours to get it all off, bring it inside, and then put it all back up in the morning. I ain't got that time. So I rolled the dice. I said, hey, fuck it. If that's my shit, then that's my shit. We're going to see if fate lets this be my shit in the morning. And we did it. We risked it for the biscuit. I remember Beowulf, my dog. My dog's normally excited to go to new places. She fucking got in the hotel and she just jumps on the bed and she's like, good night. Was out. It was a fun time. It was a fun journey though. And that's the thing. It was a rough journey. It was hard packing up everything during a pandemic, moving halfway across the country. It was tough, but I'll tell you this much. It was rewarding as fuck. And fortune favors the bold. So if you've been thinking about doing something with your life, no matter what it is, you've been wanting to join a dance class, you've been wanting to join a boxing gym, jiu-jitsu, you want to try stand-up for the first time, you want to start your own business, but you don't know where to start, fucking start at the beginning, friend. Okay? Start by maybe reaching out to someone who has their own business, how to do it. Use me as a resource. You can always reach out and I'll try to tell you how you can start your own business. I'll try to help. I'm pretty transparent with the way I do things and always enjoy helping other entrepreneurs. Okay? But you just got to take the action. Don't expect anybody else to do it. Guess what, friend? No one's coming to save you. You're the hero in your own movie. All right? Shout out to Joe Rogan for that idea. But it really is. It's like the part in Harry Potter where he realizes his Patronus is actually him and not his dad coming to save him. And it's a beautiful moment. There's a powerful message in there for you. Okay? And you know what else I've realized? Something about not executing on things. Sometimes people become perfectionists and they like don't want to put things out under scrutiny of the public. This is something that I realized about myself. It's the fear of being judged. It's the reality of it actually being out on a stage for people to judge it. It's very easy to constantly be working over, a book, over a bit, over a video, over a song, over an idea, over a business product, something. It's very easy to be working on it. It's rewarding. Yeah, I'm just working on it. We're working it out right now, doing some revisions. But a lot of people never actually execute because they're worried about being judged by it, actually having it out there for people to go. It sucks. Here's what I say. Put it out there. Don't be so worried about what people think and just focus on making the next one. Fall in love with the process. There's this great study that was done. I think it was with photographers where in the beginning of the class year, the teacher broke the class up into two different sections. He says, this half of the class, I want you guys to submit one picture every day for the entire semester. Okay? Or one picture a week for the entire semester. And this side of the class, you guys just submit one picture at the end of the year for your grade. I want it to be a perfect picture. By the end of the year, the class that had been taking regular pictures once a week were putting in masterpieces by the end of the year. And the people that were supposed to only take one picture the entire semester, and that was their entire grade, a lot of them froze up. They never submitted it because they were the pressure of submitting a masterpiece. And also the ones that did, it was nowhere near a level of a masterpiece because they didn't have all that experience and all those judgments and everything that you have to do when you actually submit the work. Bars, ladies and gentlemen. So go out there, fall in love with the process, and just put that shit out there. And remember, no matter what, I still love you.